Welcome back, everyone. My name is Emily Gear. I'm a multi-dimensional channel and a transformative energy healer. I'm here with your reading for the week ahead. Today is June 12th, but this can be for the week ahead of any time you come across this video. Just please take note of my website on the screen now. This is where you can schedule a private reading or energy healing with me, or a reading or channeling by email. Those are all available on my website. And actually, if you do schedule one of the channelings or readings by email, the wait is very short right now. I'm definitely getting them done within days to 1 week from when you order. So a good time to do that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I've already opened the records. I'm going and shuffling the cards. I'm going to give it a couple reverse ruffles here. Even though I'm not a huge fan of reversals, I've been using them just to sort of test my intuition a little bit. Okay, so we're asking God, source energy, whatever you want to call it, for messages for the collective for this coming week. My work is based in energy healing, and so if you're new to my channel, you will not find a lot of gossipy, exciting type messages, but you will find messages aimed at healing and transformation. So hopefully that's what you're here for. Messages for the collective, please. Got the Queen of Swords upright. Got the Seven of Wands in reverse. We've got the Seven of Cups in reverse. The Wheel in reverse. And Justice in reverse. So the Wheel and Justice in reverse feel very similar to me. I'm going to put those together. On the bottom of the deck right now is Temperance in reverse. So this Queen of Swords coming out right away made me feel very much like things are getting clear for each individual, depending on what they've been going through. Now, this might not be a clarity that is necessarily really obvious. It might not be like, oh, now I know exactly what I need to do. But I think for a lot of people that a longer vision or a longer goal becomes in focus. It could be that, an old thought pattern or an old feeling pattern that you have operated on unconsciously for a really long time is coming to the surface, and you are realizing how this has affected your life. I feel like that there's some disambiguation around some pattern that may have held you back for this whole lifetime, and or for a period of time. It doesn't have to be the whole lifetime, but I do get the impression that, okay, you've now seen it, so you've become aware of it, and now there is sort of this understanding of what is out of balance with the Wheel in reverse and Justice in reverse here, what isn't working. And I feel that this could be different for all of you, but for me, it feels highly personal. It feels very much like old family patterns, things that you learned in childhood, or beliefs that are based upon fears of your inner child. Like, these feel really deeply rooted. And so even someone who is very much aware and not, asleep, so to speak, might have had trouble focusing on these things or seeing them for what they were, because when you are in such a state, Seven of Wands in reverse and the Seven of Cups in reverse, when you are in such a state of your ego kind of protects and defends you, right? So you are unconsciously acting out certain behaviors to protect yourself, and you don't realize you're doing that. In fact, it can masquerade as standing up for yourself, when in fact you are, again, operating on, I want to say, beliefs or rules that are outdated. So it can be very hard to see, even for a person who is very aware. So there's another level of awareness, I think, coming in. It may have put you into a contemplative sort of loner phase for the time being. It feels like a time of really sort of pulling away to try to get things straight within yourself. I think, again, you're noticing this, and so you're noticing it in a lot of places in your life. And so you're beginning to be able to make changes which are helping you, and they're helping you to close whatever these cycles are with the world. Okay, and since justice is here too, again, these feel like really big cycles. Like they're coming out of your childhood, they're coming from family history. They're not something that just started 5 years ago necessarily. It could be, but this feels deeper than that, to be honest. So this is bringing you a sense of justice, and you're embodying this Queen of Swords. And you may just be at the beginning. There's just sort of this small, I don't even want to say small percentage, but there's just like, you might be at the beginning of whatever this realization is. It may go much deeper. I'm seeing these roots going into the ground. So don't be frustrated with that. I think like the Queen of Swords would, taking it as it comes, taking every moment at face value. They directed, I have this like intentions like posted all over around my desk here, and one of my intentions is I intend to take every moment at face value, and they like shift in my eyes there. So remember not to get overwhelmed with what you are understanding and realizing and feeling, but take every moment at face value. Treat yourself with the same kind of compassion that you would treat another person who is going through some kind of shift or realization or change in their life in some way. Okay. What else? What else? What else is for the collective, please, this week? Getting a strong shadow work vibe here, which could be the stuff that's coming up that you're just kind of noticing. But there is this sense of detachment. And I think that is one thing that is really helpful to be able to do. I talked months ago, probably more frequently or more recently than months ago, but about like realizing that, you know, we are not our feelings. We have to feel them. We have to allow them to pass through, but they're like visitors. They're not us. And I think that is sort of what we're experiencing here. Like you might be looking at an old trauma and being able to detach from it in a healthy way so that you're not just constantly reliving this cycle of trauma over and over again, but you're able to see the pattern and understand how your choices may have grown out of a pattern that was developed to protect you, which is not really protecting you. It's a coping mechanism which has outlived its function because you're no longer in the trauma, if that makes sense. All right. Sorry, that was just off the old cards. What else, please? What else? Seven of Pentacles in reverse. Three of Pentacles in reverse. 10 of Wands, 8 of Pentacles, 9 of Pentacles. Bottom of the deck, Tower. All right. What I'm feeling like here is this stuff, this really deep-rooted either trauma or traumatic experience or belief or whatever, this is holding you back. You've got the 7 of Pentacles in reverse with the 3 of Pentacles. It's preventing you from being able to build because it's such a huge burden here. you're carrying a lot more than you need to. When you lighten the load, obviously the work goes more smoothly. When you prune the tree, it grows out more fruitfully. So the point is here, yeah, you can keep moving on like this, like a beast of burden, carrying all that stuff, but you're going to grow so much more slowly. And it's a sort of stunted spiritual growth at that point if you are too afraid. And there is this feeling of fear here of letting go of something, because I think that, again, it is rooted in a behavior that was developed to protect you from some kind of trauma. What I think is helpful to realize is that this, whatever this trauma is here in the Tower card on the bottom of the deck, this was a moment in time. This is not the everyday reality. This is not necessarily the rule book going forward. This is not necessarily your life going forward. It's a story. You may have a story that's based on this one event, okay? And maybe that event has not happened again, but Emperor in reverse underneath, it may have disempowered you to the extent that you believe this is your life, and you believe that this is how it is going forward, and it's not. And there is so much Eight of Coins here. I don't know why I often see this card as abundance, maybe because I can see all of her supplies and stuff in front of her, and the potential for abundance when she puts her creativity and invests her time into the creation. So I feel that we need to sort of see this as an investment of time in order to be able to create this abundance that we innately inhabit. Like this is your birthright. You are this abundance already. We just need to invest in allowing it to come through, instead of investing all of this time in reliving this story and reliving the trauma that, and by trauma, it doesn't need to be a huge event. It can be something that happened when you were a kid that like really formed your perception of something. Okay. I'm just hearing that you are meant to live these lives of abundance, prosperity, and joy. And whatever way that presents itself to you, it's going to be different for every single person. And what is lacking here is making room for yourself to invest. Because how can you invest in your future, in your creativity, in your abundance, if you are currently investing in all of this all these false protective measures, right? You're focused in the wrong direction. And yet you're on a journey. And so I just caught myself saying wrong, and I hate that word. And yet you're on a journey, so you're never where you're not supposed to be, right? So there's a reason why you're here. You're opening up these cycles. You're breaking them down. You're ending them for your family, even. At least in my situation, it's definitely showing up as family patterns. And I really feel that they're, justice plus the wheel, those are much bigger cycles that you're closing up. So whether it's ancestral or, something that's repeated itself in your past lives, something big is closing out here. I will say one thing interesting that came up in a private channeling for a past life, is that, this person, their past self had already lived a certain lesson, and so she does not have to repeat it. And even though she is repeating it to an extent in this life, that was kind of like her get out of jail free card. Like, just recognize that you have already lived this cycle. Your time now is to just stop it and to move forward in a different cycle. That it's not necessary to have to repeat this lesson again. And so if that is meaningful to any of you, take that with you to say that if you already know some of this stuff, sometimes there's nothing more to be done than to recognize that to see the pattern in yourself and then to simply choose a different way. Okay. I know that sounds overly simplistic, but when that becomes the dominant choice in your energy field, things start to shift for you. I'm hearing lots of abundance on the horizon. So even though, astrologically this year and coming years are sort of lined up to be rather a little bit difficult, I feel like the work that you do now is panning out. It's bringing a lot in for you. Very transformational. Very foundational, even. Okay, let's see what else wants to come out. What else? What else for the collective, please? Remember to look deeper for your patterns. And be open to you having thought a pattern was one thing in the past and it being another thing. Because you have a deeper level of understanding now and a deeper level of connection to source energy as time goes on. Because you've awakened more. So be willing to have seen things from one perspective in the past and now be seeing it from another perspective. Because neither one of those is wrong. It depends on what, the time and the circumstance around it. All right. What else, please? What else? Oh, a bunch just popped. I'll take them. Judgment in reverse. Fool in reverse. Eight of Swords in reverse. Okay. Is it possible that if you are feeling stuck in some way, okay, and a lot of you probably are, or you wouldn't be listening to tarot readings online if you didn't feel like you needed some guidance, right? So if you have been feeling stuck in some way, is it possible that the only reason you are stuck there is because you have laid some kind of judgment on yourself? And is it possible to get a new start, to sort of renew it, renew the situation or renew your state of mind or frame of reference by simply forgiving yourself that judgment? Okay. I know that sounds weird, but one thing that I will do as a healer when I catch myself judging, which is often, it can be other people, it can be myself. It's usually it's almost, if I'm judging somebody else for something, it's always because I judge myself for something that relates to it in some way. So I always drive it back to myself. And then I ask where it hurts. Like, where is that thing creating? Where's that wound living? It's often in my heart. It's often in my solar plexus, one or the other. And then I sort of ask, like, is that feeling real? Like, what does that really relate to? And is that thing real? And so often it is my inner child that does not feel safe or does not feel heard or whatever it is for you. For me, it's almost always safety, being abandoned, whatever, something like that, depending on what the issue is. And the way that I shift that is to send that child unconditional love as if she is standing right in front of me. And to direct it into the place in my physical body where it hurts. Because I find that, and I've said it a million times, that your body is a really important tool of your intuition. And it often does not lie about things. So if you're feeling something weird somewhere in your body, it's a good indication that you might be having one of those unconscious thoughts, okay? I've been doing that too. Really trying to take the time to notice my feeling in my body so that I can track down those unconscious negative thought patterns that are undermining me, right? They're undermining my conscious work because they're unconscious and they're coming from all these like old fears and stuff like that. So I want you to ask yourself, is it possible that you are judging yourself harshly? And is it possible that you can forgive yourself for the judgment and then forgive yourself for being wherever the fuck you are right now? And that might not be in a great place. And just realize that you're doing the best that you can with every given moment, okay? Sometimes some self-compassion is what is really needed in order to get to this sort of energy of abundance and creativity and happiness and joy. None of us are perfect. None of us are going to get it right every single time. But when you can be an acceptance of yourself and all your flaws and everything that comes with it, then there's a joy even in the process. You don't have to be at some kind of result. You can be in this becoming process. Okay. What other messages, please? Okay, we have the Six of Cups and the Eight of Cups in reverse. And then we have the Page of Pentacles and the Queen of Pentacles upright. This feels like, honestly, this feels a little bit like, don't worry, you're doing it, you're a student, you're making it, you're coming into the growth of who you really are. You're really rooting into the truth and the richness of what your individuality is, okay? And that's an individuality which is profoundly and necessarily connected to the individuality of every other. But you're learning more and more what that is, because so much of what we kind of put, it's the ego. So much of what we put on our facade is not who we really are. And that there is naturally this process of kind of peeling away the layers of the things that have been. I'm looking at the Six of Cups in reverse with the Eight of Cups here, because those again have become our stories. And I'm getting the sense of, depression is living in the past, or something like, what is that? Depression's living in the past, anxiety is living in the future. We have to live in the now. So there's this sense of living in the past and the depression of that, because again, as we were talking before about the story of the trauma being the expectation, and this does not need to be the expectation, that there is a departure from that, and you're learning that. And I want to say, I use the phrase beginner mind often, and it's because we need to continually approach life and the now with the openness to whatever miracles the universe wants to send us at any moment, or whatever miracles we want to create for ourselves at any moment. We need to be sure that we have left enough space within ourselves that these things can occur, that we are not living so much in the past in the old stories. So there might be a necessity to walk away from some of those old thoughts and feelings, of course, as always. This feels really reassuring to me as well, that, listen, hey, it's a learning process. You're moving through it. You will make it from the Page to the Queen. And there's a real satisfaction and peace to this Queen. So know that it is coming. That this is the pathway there of really recognizing where we are not in peace. And those are all those little upsets within us, those spaces where we don't feel good, where our physical body shows us it doesn't feel good, where we're acting out unconscious, unconscious patterns that were made to protect us. That is not peace. That is being in a state of egoic protection. And it is through this process that we reach a real, true, rich, rooted, grounded joy. That we are consciously present for the now, for the physical world, as well as the spiritual and the mental and the emotional existence. All right, let's get a final message. Just gonna grab some of these. Get a final message. Please, source. Okay, get a couple more. Get one more. Oh. This is a whole chunk of them. I'm just going to take the top one here. All right, the first one that came out is the law of attraction. Each thought is an investment that pays immediate dividends, so invest wisely. You have the power to choose your thoughts and align them with love, peace, and harmony. At your request, we will gladly attune your energies to higher frequencies. And so that is so much of what's going on here, us recognizing our unconscious lower level thought patterns that are acting out of fear, out of like trying to protect us from some past enemy that is no longer, or past threat, which is no longer necessarily a threat. And as we raise our vibration, we make that space for miracles to occur. The next card here is life purpose. The purpose of your life is to serve in a way that brings great joy to yourself and to others. Don't worry about finding your purpose. Instead, focus upon serving a purpose, and then your purpose will serve you. So that feels to me essentially like what you are doing now is part of what you are here to do. This is part of ascension, so to speak. I don't know why I put it in quotes. I guess because not everybody uses that word. This is part of healing. This is part of becoming truly aligned with divine will, with who you really are. And part of that is purification. It is time for cleansing, detoxification of your body and mind. Purification. And I feel like that is primarily mental and even subconscious on the mental field, that it's just another level that maybe you haven't been able to see, and now you have the sensitivity to be able to see this layer underneath. This came up too. Green Tara, start delegating. Ask others, including me, to help you instead of trying to do everything by yourself. So this might be relevant to something in the physical world where you need to ask some person for help. Don't, hesitate to reach out to friends, family, even people like myself or other healers or whatever for help. But I also really feel strongly that this is about like, ask the universe, pray to God, whatever it is that you do. I tend to pray to God, because I feel like, all these individual consciousnesses are just one part of a whole, right? That being unity consciousness. And so this is about surrendering to this process that you're going through right now, though it be difficult, and surrendering it and asking for help. And basically, I feel like this is just aligning your will with the divine will, saying, I need your help to do this. You're the one who knows the way. You know what's going on here. And this is not a religious God or whatever. I'm not telling you to like do anything specific, but whatever works for you in whatever way that you can surrender to your highest and best good. You can always state it like that. My highest and best good, or the highest and best good of everyone involved, so that there's just no chance of ego sort of getting involved there. And release your control over the situation. Ask for the help. Give it over to a higher power. I mean, it's so important that they use it in 12-step programs because it works, Guys, that is it for today. Just gonna, King of Wands. I just decided I was gonna pick up one more card. King of Wands, 5 of Wands in reverse. It's an end to the struggle. It's an empowerment in your struggles as well, but it ends it when you stop trying to force things, when you allow a surrender to a power greater than yourself. Okay. So, guys, a quick thank you to those who made contributions this last week, to those who ordered readings and channelings. I really appreciate you guys. A quick request for just keeping me and my intentions in your prayers, because I'm needing that right now in my life. So I appreciate that very much. And thank you so much for being here, for listening, for watching, for subscribing, and for commenting, sharing your support for my work. It is so meaningful to me, and I look forward to talking to you guys again next week. All right, bye.